I still remember the exact moment when I realized that I needed to learn English fast. I was sitting in my small room, staring at my laptop screen, watching a video without subtitles, and feeling completely useless. Everyone around me was moving forward, getting better jobs, making international friends, traveling to other countries with confidence, while I was stuck in the same place, trapped by my own limitations. That day, I got a message from an old friend. He asked me if I wanted to join him on a trip to Europe. It was a dream I always had. Seeing the world, walking down streets I'd only seen in movies, feeling free, independent, strong. But I knew deep inside that if I went, I wouldn't even be able to ask for directions or order food without feeling embarrassed. I imagined myself standing there, trying to say something simple, and the person looking at me with confusion because I couldn't even form a basic sentence correctly. At that moment, I felt so small. I felt like my life was getting smaller every day because I couldn't speak the language that opens every door in the world. I realized I was tired of depending on subtitles, tired of watching opportunities pass by, tired of feeling scared every time someone spoke to me in English. I wanted to be free. I wanted to speak without thinking, without translating in my head, without that heavy fear in my chest. I remember thinking, if I don't do this now, I will regret it forever. Because the truth is, English is not just a language. It's a bridge to the life I want. It's confidence, it's freedom, it's connection. I didn't want to spend my life feeling embarrassed or avoiding situations because of my weakness. I wanted to turn that weakness into my biggest strength. So I made a promise to myself that day. I promised that I would do everything I could to become fluent. I didn't know how long it would take. I didn't know where to start. I just knew that I couldn't live like this anymore. I needed to learn English, and I needed to learn it fast. Not for school, not for an exam, not to impress anyone. I needed it for me. For my dreams, for my confidence, for my freedom. And that decision changed everything. When I first started learning English, I thought it would be easy. I thought I just needed to memorize some vocabulary, watch a few videos, and magically, I would become fluent. But I was so wrong. The first few weeks were some of the hardest days of my life, and I still remember them so clearly. One of my biggest struggles was fear. Every time I tried to speak, my heart started beating so fast I couldn't even hear my own thoughts. Even simple sentences like, "How are you?" or "Can I sit here?" felt impossible to say. My mouth felt heavy, my tongue refused to move the way I wanted, and my brain was screaming with self-doubt. I felt embarrassed, stupid, and worthless. I avoided speaking to people. I avoided opportunities to practice. I avoided everything because I didn't want to feel that shame. Another struggle was listening. When I heard English speakers talk, it felt like they were speaking at the speed of light. Words melted into each other, sentences sounded like one long sound wave, and by the time I understood one word, they were already 10 words ahead. I remember watching movies with English subtitles, pausing every 2 seconds to read and repeat, feeling frustrated because I couldn't keep up. It felt like no matter how hard I tried, my brain just wasn't fast enough. Grammar was another nightmare. Past tense, present perfect, conditionals, it all sounded like complicated math formulas to me. I remember sitting at my desk with my grammar book open, reading the rules again and again, but nothing stayed in my mind. I would understand a rule one day and completely forget it the next. It felt like I was pouring water into my hands and watching it slip through my fingers. But the worst struggle of all was my mindset. I didn't believe in myself. Every day, I told myself, "You're too stupid to learn this." I compared myself to people who had studied English for years and spoke fluently. I felt like an outsider, like someone standing outside a glass wall, watching others live the life I wanted but could never have. That feeling of hopelessness was heavier than any grammar rule or vocabulary list. There were days I cried out of frustration. I remember one night, I was trying to write a simple paragraph about my day for practice. It took me almost 2 hours to write 5 sentences, and even then, I knew they were full of mistakes. I closed my notebook and felt tears streaming down my face. I felt so tired. Tired of feeling behind. Tired of feeling like a failure. Tired of trying so hard and seeing no results. I also struggled with consistency. Some days I felt motivated and studied for hours. Other days, I felt empty and gave up before even starting. I kept thinking, what if I spend all this time studying and I still can't speak fluently? That thought alone paralyzed me. It made me want to quit before I could even give myself a chance to succeed. But deep inside, there was a small voice that refused to be silent. A small voice that whispered, "Don't give up. You've come this far. Keep going." And even though my struggles felt endless in those first weeks, that small voice is what kept me moving forward, one painful but brave step at a time. After weeks of feeling like I was drowning in English, after all the tears and frustration, I reached a point where I almost gave up. I thought maybe English just wasn't for me. Maybe my brain wasn't made for languages. Maybe I was destined to live my life trapped in translations and silent embarrassment forever. But then, something happened that changed everything. One evening, I was scrolling through YouTube, feeling lost and empty, when I came across a video. The title was simple, "How I Learned English Without Studying Grammar." At first, I rolled my eyes. Another clickbait video, I thought. But something inside me told me to watch it. And I did. That video introduced me to a secret I had never even considered before: the power of input. I realized that I was approaching English the wrong way. I was treating it like a school subject, like math or chemistry, trying to memorize rules and words without context. But language isn't just knowledge. It's a feeling, a rhythm, a living thing that you absorb with your ears, your eyes, your heart. That night, I learned that the fastest way to learn a language is to surround yourself with it completely, to let your brain get used to it the way children do when they're learning their first language. I understood that I didn't need to force myself to memorize endless vocabulary lists. Instead, I needed to read and listen every single day. I needed to hear real English, see real sentences, understand how words connect to each other in natural speech. I realized that if I wanted to speak English fluently, I had to stop focusing on speaking first. I had to listen, read, and absorb until English became a part of me. That was the secret that changed everything. From that day on, I changed my approach completely. I stopped obsessing over grammar books. I stopped trying to memorize hundreds of random words. Instead, I started reading simple English books every day, books that I could understand without a dictionary. I started listening to English podcasts while walking, cooking, and before sleeping. I started watching YouTube videos about topics I loved, not just English learning tips, but real topics: psychology, motivation, stories. I wanted English to be part of my real life, not just my study routine. At first, it felt strange. I wasn't actively studying. I was just listening, reading, enjoying, and trying to understand. But after a few weeks, something magical happened. I started recognizing words automatically. Sentences started making sense without me translating them in my head. I could guess the meaning of new words because I understood them in context. I started thinking in English without forcing myself to think in English. This secret, the power of massive input and immersion, changed everything for me. It made English feel alive and natural, not like a painful school subject. It made me excited to learn every day. I wasn't just learning English. I was living it. And slowly, my fear of speaking started disappearing. Because the more I read and listened, the more my brain got used to the language. Words flowed out of my mouth without hesitation. I didn't need to translate anymore. I was finally becoming fluent, and for the first time in my life, I felt free. That's when I realized that fluency isn't about memorizing everything. It's about trusting your brain to do what it was designed to do, to learn through exposure, to absorb, to connect patterns naturally. The secret that changed everything for me was simple: don't study English. Live in English. And once I understood that, there was no going back. After I discovered the secret of input and immersion, I knew that the only way to make it work was to turn English into a part of my daily life. Not something I did for 1 hour and then forgot, but something I lived with from the moment I woke up to the moment I closed my eyes at night. Every morning, the first thing I did was listen to English. Before I even got out of bed, I put on my headphones and played an English podcast or a YouTube video. At first, I didn't understand everything. Sometimes I felt lost, hearing words I didn't know, but I kept listening. I told myself that my brain was learning even if I didn't notice it immediately. It was like watering a plant. You don't see it grow in one day, but you keep watering it because you trust the process. After breakfast, I spent 20 to 30 minutes reading. I didn't choose difficult books. I started with graded readers, simple books written for English learners. They had short sentences, easy vocabulary, and interesting stories that kept me engaged. I read them slowly, enjoying every sentence, imagining the scenes in my head. Sometimes I repeated the sentences out loud to hear myself speak English. I wasn't forcing myself to memorize. I was just letting the language flow through me. During the day, I tried to think in English as much as possible. When I was walking to the bus stop, I described what I saw in English in my mind. The sky is so clear today. That man is wearing a black coat. I feel tired but excited for my lesson. Simple sentences, but powerful practice. I started talking to myself in English when I was alone. It felt awkward in the beginning, but slowly it became normal. English started to feel like a friend I was always talking to. At lunch, instead of watching random videos in my native language, I watched short English videos about topics I loved: motivation, life lessons, psychology, stories of successful people. I chose topics I was already interested in because that made learning enjoyable. I wasn't just learning English. I was learning about life, about people, about the world, in English. In the evenings, I continued my input practice. Sometimes I listened to English music and read the lyrics to understand every word. Sometimes I watched movies with English subtitles. At first, I watched with subtitles in my language, then with English subtitles, and finally without any subtitles. Each step felt like climbing a mountain, but each time I reached the top, I felt stronger and more confident. Before sleeping, I did my favorite practice. I called it shadow time. I chose a short English video, usually a motivational speech or a short story, and I shadowed it. That means I listened to a sentence and immediately repeated it, copying the pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. I felt silly at first, but this practice improved my speaking and listening more than anything else. I started to sound more natural, and words came out of my mouth with confidence. Another thing I did every day was write. I kept a small English journal. Every night, I wrote about my day in simple English. What I did, what I felt, what I learned. Some days I wrote only a few sentences. Other days I wrote whole pages. I didn't care about grammar mistakes. I just wanted to use English to express myself. Over time, I started seeing my thoughts flow more easily in English. This was my daily practice. It wasn't about studying for hours with books open in front of me. It was about living in English every single day. Listening, reading, speaking, thinking, writing, little by little, all these actions built my fluency like small drops of water filling a cup. And what surprised me the most was that it never felt like studying. It felt like living a new life. A life where English was not something I was forced to learn, but something I chose to love. And because of that love, fluency came to me faster than I ever imagined. Now, when I look back at my journey, it feels unreal. Just 5 months before, I couldn't even introduce myself confidently in English. I was too scared to speak, too embarrassed to try, and too tired to believe in myself. But today, I can think, speak, read, and even dream in English. It's not perfect. I still make mistakes. But I don't care about mistakes anymore, because fluency is not about being perfect. It's about being confident enough to express yourself and connect with the world. If there is one thing I learned from this journey, it's that your mindset is everything. At the beginning, I spent so much time telling myself that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't smart enough to learn a language. But the moment I changed my mindset to, I can do this. I will do this, no matter how long it takes, everything changed for me. Because when you believe in yourself, you don't give up easily. You keep going, even when progress feels slow. My advice for you is simple: don't treat English like a school subject. Don't lock yourself in your room with grammar books for hours expecting to magically become fluent. Instead, create a life where English exists naturally. Read books that make you feel something. Listen to voices that inspire you. Watch videos that teach you not only English, but life lessons too. Speak to yourself without fear. Write your thoughts without worrying about mistakes. Another important thing is to be patient with yourself. Fluency doesn't come overnight. There will be days when you feel like you're not improving. There will be days when you feel like giving up. On those days, remind yourself that consistency beats motivation. Even if you spend just 10 minutes listening or reading, it counts. Every small step adds up in the end. Also, don't compare your journey with others. Everyone learns at a different pace. Some people take years. Some take months. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. What matters is that you keep moving forward. Focus on your journey, your progress, your dreams. Finally, fall in love with English. Don't learn it just because you have to. Learn it because it opens doors to a new world. Learn it because it allows you to understand movies, songs, books, and people from different cultures. Learn it because it makes you stronger and more confident. When you start loving the process, fluency will come to you naturally. Looking back, I realized that learning English wasn't just about the language. It was about becoming a new person. A person who is brave enough to fail and try again. A person who believes in their dreams. A person who knows that nothing is impossible if you stay consistent and trust yourself. So, to you who is watching this right now and feeling hopeless, I was where you are. I know exactly how heavy that feeling is. But I promise you, if you keep going, if you live with English every day, if you choose love over fear, you will wake up one day and realize that you are finally free. You will speak with confidence, think without translating, and feel proud of yourself for not giving up. Your journey starts now. And I'm telling you, you can do this. Fluency is not just a dream. It's a reality waiting for you to believe in it.